A single plant species has been launched into orbit more than any other living organism in history. NASA scientists have sent it to the International Space Station over 200 times, studying how it responds to zero gravity, cosmic radiation, and the brutal conditions of space. The goal is not botanical curiosity. The goal is human survival beyond Earth. This plant holds genetic secrets that could determine whether we can grow food on Mars, whether astronauts can survive multi-year journeys, and whether humanity can establish colonies on distant worlds. Yet most people have never heard its name. It grows in cracks in your driveway, between sidewalk stones, in abandoned parking lots, and along gravel roads. You have walked past it 1,000 times without noticing. It is small, unremarkable, and appears to have no commercial value whatsoever. But scientists call it the laboratory mouse of the plant kingdom. It was the first plant to have its entire genome sequenced, a genetic blueprint that revolutionized our understanding of how all plants function, adapt, and survive. This is Arabidopsis thaliana, known commonly as rock cress or mouse ear cress. And if you enjoy learning more about plants that science studies but the world ignores, subscribe to this channel. Rock cress is not beautiful. It does not produce large fruits, showy flowers, or aromatic leaves. It completes its entire life cycle in just 6 weeks, from seed to seed. This rapid generation time is exactly why researchers selected it. Scientists can observe multiple generations in a single season, tracking genetic mutations, stress responses, and evolutionary adaptations in real time. The plant's genome is remarkably small, only 125 million base pairs, compared to wheat's 17 billion. This genetic simplicity makes it easy to study, manipulate, and understand. When researchers discovered a gene that controls flowering time in Arabidopsis, they unlocked the same mechanism in crops worldwide. When they identified how it defends against pathogens, they translated that knowledge into disease-resistant wheat, rice, and tomatoes. Every major breakthrough in plant biology over the past 30 years involved Arabidopsis at some stage. It taught us how plants sense light, regulate growth hormones, repair DNA damage, and communicate chemical signals through their roots. The pharmaceutical industry studies its compounds to develop cancer treatments. Agricultural companies use its genetic data to engineer drought-resistant crops. And NASA uses it to answer one critical question: can plants adapt to life in space? In 1997, Arabidopsis became the first plant to complete a full life cycle in space aboard the Space Shuttle. It germinated, grew, flowered, and produced viable seeds in zero gravity. This single experiment proved that human space colonization was theoretically possible. Without plants that can reproduce in space, long-term missions to Mars or beyond would be impossible. Astronauts cannot carry enough food for multi-year journeys. They must grow it. But space introduces challenges that no plant on Earth has ever faced. Cosmic radiation damages DNA at rates 100 times higher than on the surface. Microgravity disrupts root growth, water distribution, and nutrient uptake. Plants evolved every survival mechanism under the influence of Earth's gravity. Remove gravity, and everything breaks. Arabidopsis, however, adapted. Researchers discovered that it activates specific genes in space that remain dormant on Earth. Genes that repair radiation damage and reorganize cellular structures without gravitational cues. These findings are now being applied to engineer crops that can survive Martian greenhouses. The humble weed growing in your driveway is the genetic blueprint for interplanetary agriculture. Rock cress is entirely edible. The leaves, stems, flowers, and seeds are all non-toxic and have been consumed by humans throughout history. It belongs to the Brassicaceae family, the same lineage as kale, broccoli, cabbage, and mustard greens. The flavor is peppery, slightly bitter, with a mustard-like sharpness characteristic of all plants in this family. European foragers historically collected young leaves for wild salads, and seeds were occasionally ground into a mustard substitute. Yet it has never entered mainstream agriculture. The reason is purely economic. Rock cress produces tiny leaves and minimal biomass. A single plant yields only a few grams of edible material. Commercial farming demands crops that produce kilograms per square meter, not grams. The industrial food system has no use for a plant that cannot scale. But nutritional analysis reveals an unexpected profile. Rock cress contains glucosinolates, sulfur-containing compounds responsible for the health benefits of broccoli and kale. It also produces indole-3-carbinol, a compound studied for its potential anti-cancer properties. The plant that science uses to unlock genetic secrets is chemically similar to vegetables we are told to eat daily. Arabidopsis contains approximately 27,000 genes. Humans have around 20,000. Plants require more genetic complexity because they cannot move. They must adapt to temperature swings, drought, flooding, herbivore attacks, and pathogen invasions without fleeing. Every environmental challenge must be solved chemically or structurally. Rock cress has evolved genetic mechanisms that allow it to survive freezing winters, scorching summers, and nutrient-poor soils. One of its most remarkable traits is vernalization, the ability to count cold days. The plant will not flower until it has experienced a sufficient period of winter cold, ensuring that it reproduces only when spring arrives and conditions are favorable. This prevents premature flowering during brief warm spells that would kill developing seeds. Scientists identified the exact genes responsible for this behavior in Arabidopsis and then found identical mechanisms in wheat and barley. That discovery allowed breeders to develop winter wheat varieties that produce higher yields in temperate climates. Another gene, flowering locust tea, acts as a master switch that triggers blooming. Understanding this gene in rock cress has led to techniques that control flowering time in commercial crops, allowing farmers to synchronize harvests and maximize productivity. The genetic knowledge extracted from this roadside weed has fed millions of people. Rock cress thrives in disturbed, compacted, nutrient-depleted soils. It colonizes construction sites, gravel paths, and industrial wastelands. Most plants require rich organic matter and stable conditions. Arabidopsis requires only sunlight, a crack in the soil, and occasional moisture. Its root system is shallow but highly efficient, extracting minerals from substrates that would starve other species. The plant produces allelopathic compounds, chemicals that inhibit the germination of competing seeds. This allows it to dominate barren environments where competition is minimal. It is also highly tolerant of heavy metals like cadmium and zinc, pollutants that poison most vegetation. Researchers are now studying these metal accumulation pathways to develop phytoremediation strategies, using plants to clean contaminated soils. Rock cress absorbs toxins from the ground, concentrates them in its tissues, and can be harvested to remove pollution. The same plant that helps NASA plan Martian agriculture could help restore Earth's industrial wastelands. It survives where nothing else can, because it evolved to exploit the harshest, most overlooked niches. There is a philosophical irony in rock cress. The most scientifically important plant on Earth is also the most ignored. It has contributed more to human knowledge than wheat, corn, or rice. It has unlocked the genetic architecture of every crop we depend on. Yet it is classified as a weed. We spray it with herbicides, pave over it, and curse it when it appears in garden beds. The distinction between a crop and a weed is not botanical. It is economic. Rock cress produces knowledge instead of calories. It produces understanding instead of profit. And in a system that values only yield, productivity, and market value, understanding has no price. But that understanding has already saved harvests, extended growing seasons, and prevented famine. Every genetically modified crop every disease-resistant variety, every climate-adapted strain carries knowledge first decoded in Arabidopsis. The plant we ignore built the foundation of modern agriculture. Rock cress will never appear in a grocery store. It will never be advertised as a superfood or sold in bundles at farmers' markets. Its value cannot be measured in pounds or profits. But it has already changed the world. It taught humanity how plants think, adapt, and survive. It proved that life can reproduce in space. It revealed the genetic switches that control flowering, immunity, and stress responses in every plant species on Earth. And it grows freely, abundantly, in places we consider lifeless. The next time you see a small green rosette pushing through a crack in the pavement, recognize it for what it is. Not a weed. A library. A blueprint for survival in hostile worlds. A reminder that the most profound discoveries often come from the smallest, most overlooked lives.